love you more. Oh, your mercy never fails me. All my days I've been held in your hand. From the moment that I wake up until I lay my head, I will sing of the goodness of God. All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am, I will sing of the goodness of God. I love your voice. You have led me through the fire. In darkest night, you are close like no other. I will sing of the goodness of God. All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am, I will sing of the goodness of God. I love your voice. You have led me through the fire. In darkest night, you are close like no other. I know you as a father. I know you as a friend. And I have lived in the goodness of God. Oh, this is my story. All my life you have been faithful. This is my song. All my life you have been so, so good. Every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. 'Cause your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. With my life laid down, surrender now, I give you everything. Your goodness is running, it keeps running after me. All my days, all my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. The Lord our God is ever faithful. He's never changing through the ages. From this darkness, you will lead us, and forever we will sing. You're the Lord our God. The Lord our God is. He's faithful and never changes. Through the ages, from this darkness, Forever we'll sing the Lord. You're the one we love. You're the one we trust. Yeah. Rely on you for every moment. Yeah. I know who goes before you. I know who stands behind. The God who fills your armies is always by my side. The one who reigns forever, he is a friend of mine. The God of angel armies is always by my side. Who goes before, stands behind, stands behind. The God of angel armies is always by my side. He is a friend of God. The God of angel armies is always by my side. The God of angel armies is always by my side. You're by our side. You've never left. We thank you, Jesus. We trust you, God. God, I look to you. I won't be overwhelmed. Give me vision to see things like you do. God, I look to you. You're where my help comes from. Give me wisdom. You know just what to do. I love you, Lord, my strength. I love you, Lord, my shield. And I love you, Lord, my rock. Forever all my days, I will love to you, God. We trust you in any season. You're there with us. We trust you, God. Come on, let's sing this together. Sing hallelujah. 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 With everything inside of me, yeah, I raise a hallelujah, and I will watch the darkness flee. I raise a hallelujah in the middle of the mystery, yeah. You're gonna hear my praises roar. Oh, the ashes, and we'll rise. Death is defeated, the King is alive. Oh, I'm gonna say, in the middle of the storm, louder and louder, you're gonna hear my praises roar. From the ashes, hope will rise. Death is defeated, the King is alive. Even when I don't see it, even when I don't feel it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. Yes, God, you're always working. Come on. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. That is who you are. 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 You're working, even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop blessing God. Even when I don't see it, you're working. Even when I don't feel it, you're working. You never stop working. You never stop working. Praise the Lord to set me free. Hallelujah. Death has lost its grip on me. You have broken every chain. There's salvation in your name. Jesus Christ, my living hope. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord who set me free. Hallelujah. Death has lost its grip on me. You have broken every chain. There's salvation in your name. Jesus Christ, my living hope. Jesus Christ, my living Well, hello everyone and good afternoon.
It is a beautiful day here in Birmingham, Alabama, and we pray that it is beautiful wherever you are. We like to welcome all of you guys to our Winning Wednesday Birmingham Bible Church. Every Wednesday at 12 noon, like to bring forth this segment. We like to remind you that you are a winner, and we also like to bring you some valuable and very important information that is for your life and for your living. So thank you, thank you, thank you for joining us here on today. From wherever you are, if you're in Florida, if you're in Georgia, we have some people that watch us in DC. If you're in the car, if you're in the break room, if you're working from home and you're in your pajamas, wherever you are, you know how we like to do it, the cute top and the pajama bottoms. Thank you for doing that too. And so just thank you for joining us. And so do us a favor. We want you to share this with someone that you know, share this information, share this broadcast. If you're on Facebook, just hit the share button, but do all you can to get this information out that is about to go forward. Well, as all of you know, October is celebratory in that it creates a lot of awareness for different things. And so on last week, we talked about domestic violence because it is Domestic Violence Month. It's also Mental Health Month as well. But on today, we are talking about breast cancer, and we are trying to raise more awareness through Birmingham Bible Church. America does have make sure that this is the month that we talk about breast cancer awareness. And so we want to do our part to do that as well. We want to talk about screenings. We want to make sure ladies are getting their tatas checked and just getting us educated in what we need to do and also get the support that we need as well. And so we have two people on who's going to help us bring forth this information the awesome way they know how to. We have Miss Rochelle Wallace. She has been with us before. She is an awesome friend. She is our medical expert. And so she's going to give us all the medical background that we need to know as far as breast cancer, getting everything checked, what you need to do, what you need to look out for, all those great tips. And then after her, we're going to also talk to Dr. Allen, who is a breast cancer survivor. So she's going to talk about her journey as she has been recovered from breast cancer. And so I introduce to you guys, first of all, Miss Rochelle Wallace. How are you doing, Miss Rochelle?
I am doing excellent, Lady Pam. Always pleased and so thrilled to be able to share with you and all of your viewers.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you. And so I've just promoted, I don't know if you have a PowerPoint, but I promoted you as a panelist. If you have one, if not, you can just share your information with us.
I do. I'll go ahead if we're ready to get started. I do have a few slides that I'd like to share with you, and we can proceed from there. So I'll go ahead and get that started for us. But I wanted to just again tell you how much I appreciate this opportunity. And we're always pleased to get to share. As we were talking briefly before we actually went live, I always appreciate the opportunity to come before you and get, well, 1 minute. I got too many things going on here trying to get my slides started there. So give me 1 minute.
No, that's fine. We just want to make sure, because I know, we're supposed to get these mammograms once a year. So I figure every year we need to make sure we're making our ladies aware, and then of course letting our men know, hey, if you have ladies in your life, hey, make sure they're getting their screenings checked as well, getting everything checked as well. So no, we need reminders, constant reminders, because life gets busy with kids and family, and so we kind of put it on the back burner. So we are so appreciative that you give us this information on a yearly basis.
Yes, ma'am. I am thrilled to have this opportunity. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, I am. It looks great. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, awesome. So we'll go ahead and just get started. We just entitled this Breast Cancer 101. I just wanted to just preface this by saying I am not a medical doctor, but we are community health advisors, we like to actually get the opportunity to go into the communities and share. I am actually the Health Initiatives Manager there within the O'Neal Comprehensive Cancer Center in the Office of Community Outreach and Engagement. So we are thrilled when we get these opportunities to share with different partners in the city and a community. And so just a little bit about who we are and what we do. Our main overarching goal is just to simply reduce the cancer burden and the disparities that are found not only in Alabama. Now we have spread our wings, and so our outreach and our catchment area actually includes the entire state of Alabama, as well as some parts of the Mississippi Delta. So we try and do this outreach by just giving a better understanding of our catchment area, and we try to promote just different collaborative efforts through community partners such as you, even other national partners, where we are able to go out and spread this message of just really the importance of early detection and screening to everyone that we get that opportunity. And we're able to do that primarily because we utilize what we call the CHAR model, where we go into these different communities and we identify what we consider to be natural helpers. And these people, they are coordinated by a paid staff of UAB, and they help us to really get the message out through churches, through all types of community centers, senior centers, just wherever we get that opportunity. So we are so excited to say that we have been able to train. Right now we have over 400, but down through the years, we're actually celebrating 25 years at the Office of Community Outreach and Engagement. And in that 25 years, they've trained well over thousands of different CHARs within a community. And they help us to do just what I'm doing today and get that message out. And we pretty much right now, our impact cancers include these 5 main areas right now. Our primary cancers are prostate, lung, breast cancer, and then cervical and colorectal. Those are our secondary. And just within the past year or so, right in the midst of COVID, we were about to begin to also include brain tumors as well as multiple myeloma as areas of focus. And we've identified these specific cancers basically because of the high and the disproportionate rate of incidence within our catchment area. Alabama, certain counties, and there's just a high rate of incidence in these cancers, specifically in communities of color. So our objective today, as you've already mentioned, we want to identify just some of the important information, some of the essential information. We could talk all day, and I know we have Dr. Allen's going to share her story with us, but there are some specific things that we want to get out there. That is just basically some of the statistics, how common breast cancer really is, especially within our community. And also we want to make sure that we are identifying the appropriateness of the age of screening and that kind of thing. And even some of the healthy lifestyle risks, healthy lifestyle, I guess, behaviors that we can adopt that will help to lower our risk incidence. So we want to just make sure that we get that information out to you all today. So when we talk about just how common breast cancer is, I know you hear this all the time, so I'm not gonna even insult our audience by reading these slides verbatim, but just to note that that 1 in 8 is what the one statistic that we hear all the time, that there's a 1 in 8 chance. And I know you have people of faith here listening, but I always like to say, Lady Pam, get the facts and pray the truth. Get the facts, pray the truth. It's okay if we, just get this information that's going to help us to know what we can do. And I also want to mention this too, that while we always talk about women and breast cancer, but understand that men can get breast cancer as well. And understanding also the fact that when we talk about men, actually, there's an estimate right now of over 2,600 men would be diagnosed with breast cancer. And of that, even a little bit over 500, they've estimated that would die of breast cancer as well. So we don't want to exclude that. And I'm learning that the more I go out and the more I have the opportunity to interact Of course, this past year has been a little bit different for us because our engagement had to take on a totally new shape with COVID, and we did so much virtually. But now that we are getting a little bit more opportunity to interact, I actually had a man to come up to the table, and he was like, "No, I want all this information," because he had a buddy of his that had just recently been diagnosed. So we always want to make sure that we are sharing this information, just the importance of it, because if you have that breast tissue, you want to make sure that you're doing the proper things as far as just noticing any differences, anything that feels or looks different, so that we can get that information to our medical providers. And the other thing is, while the rate has really been somewhat the same between African American women and Caucasian women, it's not been a significant difference in the rate of diagnoses. However, the African American women, they tend to die at a higher rate. And they tend to think that this may be attributed to later diagnosis. That when they are diagnosed, it may be at a different stage, and all sorts of things that come to play in that. But these are some of the common facts that we talk about when we're talking about breast cancer. And the other thing is just simply that it's the second most common cause of death among many women, such as Caucasian women, African American women, and American Indian, that these different races and ethnic groups. Of course, the leading cause of cancer death is still lung cancer. It's the #1 cancer cause of death, and that's in men and women. And just briefly, just going back over some of the things that I just mentioned to you, just make sure, women, that you know how your breasts feel. Notice any differences. Sometimes people may mention, well, one of them looks a little bit larger than the other, and that kind of thing. But, and I'll mention this a little bit later, but just understanding that there's no, we'll talk about the symptoms later, but every woman's story is different. And I'm sure Dr. Allen will allude to that as well, but her story may be different from someone else's. And I say that because as I've gone out here lately, it's amazing to me how so many women say, well, I didn't feel anything. I didn't feel anything, but I went to the doctor and they noticed something else. So when you hear that, just understand that that may be a symptom, but it's not necessarily the case in every woman's particular story. The other thing off of this page I want to really emphasize is that not all lumps are cancerous. So because you do feel something, don't panic on that. You definitely want to let your doctor know about that, but that does not mean necessarily that it is cancer. And some of this other information I'll get to on one of the other slides. When you're talking about the breast health, this is the important fact about this slide that I like to bring out. It's just the anatomy, how so many people don't pay attention or may not even be aware of this area underneath the arm. This is part of your breast anatomy that you want to make sure that you're aware of this. Sometimes people may even feel a lump here within the lymph node area and all of this. So of course, we are aware that many times that breast cancer may start in the center of the breast, but it does not have to. It does not have to start there. And just making sure that you are aware of when you're doing your breast self-checks and that type of thing. And I'll mention that a little bit more to you. Again, we talked about that with the lumps, and simply, I know you've had me on here many times before, and we talked about that, just understanding what cancer is. Cancer is when the cells actually begin to just grow out of control. And we used this analogy before. If you have a scratch or a cut or something, and those cells begin to reproduce themselves and kind of make a scab and that kind of thing. Well, what happens when the cells begin to reproduce and they begin to grow out of control, they can form a tumor. And that's when that tumor, what we talked about a little bit before, about that can be felt as a lump. Those lumps or that tumor may be malignant, which is cancerous, or benign. And again, these are just some of the symptoms that we talked about briefly, and just understand that everyone's story is different. They may or may not. It could be a swelling in all of the certain parts of the breast. And like we said, even if there's no distinct lump that's felt, prior to COVID, we used to utilize breast models and that kind of thing. And within those models, they would have they would put something in there so that you could feel a lump. but there was also another one in there that you could not feel. And so part of it was just to, the trainers and the people that actually went out into the community, they knew where it was, but they actually couldn't feel it. And that was just to still go back. We want to emphasize the importance of getting your screenings done, getting your mammograms done, because there are some that you're not going to be able to feel, but they will be able to pick that up on your mammography. And then we talked about also briefly, like the breast nipple or pain, nipple retraction, dimpling of the skin. At first, I was not aware of what that actually meant when they talked about dimpling. But if you think about an orange peel and just how that looks, that was about the best example that I've seen or heard of when you're talking about dimpling of the skin. And the nipple discharge, sometimes they said other than breast milk, and it may be a bloody discharge from the nipple area. So just making sure that you're aware of these are just some common symptoms, and if you experience any of these, to please make sure you notify your healthcare provider. And when we talk about the risk factors, we've talked about this before too. There being two main sets of risk factors: those that you can do something about, basically, and those that you cannot. Well, the two most common or major risk factors for breast cancer are simply just being growing older and being born a woman. Of course, not much you can do about that. The hormones and that kind of thing that are involved within that, and then just growing older. So these are things that we talk about when you want to mention those things that you really can't do a whole lot about it. And when you're talking about family history, personal history, just having a personal history of even a prior cancer can actually increase risk. And having a family history of breast cancer, specifically a first-degree relative, a mother, or sister, these are things that can increase your risk factor. And of course, your race and ethnicity, because like we talked about, that can have something to do with the mortality rate and that kind of thing, simply being of a specific race or ethnic group. However, there are those risk factors that we can do something about. And that's, of course, the alcohol consumption. We can control that. We can control how much physical activity that we receive. We recommend about 150 minutes of moderate exercise or physical activity, and roughly 30 minutes a day, Monday through Friday, however we can get it in there, just making sure we're doing something to increase our mobility, and also even obesity. That's one of them. When we talk about just your diet and what we're eating and the impact that can have on our weight, we've also found out through CDC that obesity is linked to over 13 different cancers. So simply just watching your diet and exercise can really help to lower that risk for breast cancer. And not only breast cancer, many other cancers, but also diabetes, hypertension, and other chronic illnesses as well.
Hey, Rochelle, I had a quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
And maybe you've already covered this, but what about the size of a woman's breast? Is it if a smaller breast or a larger breast, does that have anything to do with getting breast cancer or increasing the risk of it?
Well, and there again, we'll need to make sure with our medical professionals. But what I have noticed with that is that what they talk about is the fatty tissue. And of course, when you're talking about obesity period, that can tend to increase the risk factor. So the size of the breast, more so than the size, I'm thinking just more so the fatty tissue that's involved. That sometimes can lead to a higher risk of developing breast cancer. So more so than just is leaning more toward the fatty tissue than I would say just that. And because you have so many breasts, many of the breasts are formed with fatty tissue as well as the muscle area and that kind of thing. That is where it actually can come to play in. And you may hear the thing where people are talking about dense breast tissue and that kind of thing. All of that can come to play in it. So just making sure with your doctor, even when you go to get your mammogram, they can get the better look at whatever the size of the breast, whether it's really small or the larger breast. The fatty tissue and the dense tissue, sometimes they say the denser tissue is a little bit more harder to read than with the fatty tissue. So just making sure with that you are getting them checked regularly, but I don't have any type of scientific evidence that would say that simply because it's a larger breast that would tend to do it. But I have had information that lean more toward the fatty tissue that being a contributing factor, therefore, with obesity or higher breast cancer or other cancer rates. Okay, and we've talked about briefly the exercise, the tobacco, and the diet and that kind of thing. And another thing I wanted to mention when we're talking about cervical cancer, especially, one of the things that we can do for lifestyle modification, make sure that you're getting your screening and make sure that you get the HPV vaccine. HPV vaccine is linked directly to helping to prevent cervical cancer. So want to make sure that you're speaking with your doctor about that, especially within the proper age groups. They can actually start getting the HPV vaccine as early as 9 years of age, and is available not only for girls, but also for boys as well. And briefly wanted to just go over these. Now, back a few years ago, we used to hear a lot about breast self-exams. And we still encourage women, like we said, to know their body and to do their monthly checks around the same time each month. But some people kind of began to shy away from from utilizing that term of breast self-exam because of we didn't want people to begin to think that, okay, if I do this breast self-exam, I don't have to get a mammogram. That's not the case. You still want to get the mammogram at the appropriate age. However, for those that may not have reached that age yet, we still would like for them to make sure that they're taking part in being breast self-aware and doing that monthly check. And also your clinical breast exam. You make sure that you're speaking up to your physicians and asking that. When at age 21 years of age and up, you should be getting that clinical breast exam by your healthcare professional. And if not, you can ask them, hey, I think you should be doing this because the mammogram is recommended for those women that are age 40 and up at least annually is what the recommendation is right now. However, if there's a family history, you can begin that even earlier. Therefore, there is a definite need for the breast self-exam or being breast self-aware and a clinical breast exam leading into that recommended age for receiving mammograms. And there again, we just want to emphasize the fact of knowing your breast, make sure you know your family history and reporting those changes. And I like to say this too, it's so important that you make sure that you give that information of any family history. It can totally change the trajectory of the screenings, that your doctor may recommend, when they're going to recommend them, and all of that. And I think you mentioned one time before, Lady Pam, about, just knowing that family history and the difference that it made, because once you know that and you can share that, it really does play an extremely important role in personalizing your treatment or your screenings. And here again, this is just a breast self-exam, just a document, a diagram, that's sharing how you can actually do these breast self-exams. And there again, just making sure that you're doing them around the same time of the month. And they emphasize that because, of course, during menstruation, of course, things may feel different. Things may be a little bit more tender to the touch and that kind of thing. So if you're doing it around the same time, then you'll know, okay, well, this wasn't like this last month, this time. And then, not having to compare that with the differences around with your menstrual cycle or not being on the cycle, just making sure you're doing it around that same time. And this is just an example of the clinical breast examination being done by a medical professional. And of course, we always want to recommend a mammography. Being the best screening tool that's widely available right now is still the gold standard. Many people are now talking about the 3D mammogram. And of course, if your insurance will pay for that, that is something that is pretty much widely available now through most of the screening facilities. And just making sure that you are requesting and you're scheduling these mammograms. COVID played a big part in really, there were a lot of screenings that were not done. In some screenings, they were as high as 80 to 90%. I'm sure Dr. Allen can attest to the need for us to continue with the screenings. That there was an estimate of about 18,000 misdiagnoses in different screenings as a result of people having not been able to get their screenings, or delayed them, or postpone them, or whatever, due to COVID. So please, whatever you do, make sure that you're getting back in there, getting those screenings scheduled for your mammograms, as well as colonoscopies and all of those things. We want to just encourage everyone to make sure that you get those on the books if you have not. And just briefly, we cannot stress enough how early detection is key. Early detection is vital, and early detection saves lives. So your treatment options, really, they can vary based on the stage and the size of diagnosis. So if you can detect some of these things at a little bit earlier, it actually opens up so many more options for treatment for people. Whether you can get a lumpectomy or mastectomy, all of these things, they can vary based on the time that diagnosis is given. And finally, I always like to make sure that we give some good news on that. There is great news, and actually these figures, they've gotten even better than this last time. I heard it's now over 3.6 million survivors in the United States, and we're just really encouraged by that. They said that actually they're attributing a lot of this to women becoming more breast self-aware. They're breast cancer education, such as what you're allowing today, Lady Pam, where ladies are getting out there, they're getting their mammograms done. There's not the same stigma or timidity to people talking about, hey, do your breast self-awareness checks, and making sure that you're involved about being an advocate for yourself, and making sure that you're taking charge of your own health. So we salute all those survivors. Congratulations, and we know that you guys are thriving, and we can't wait to hear your story, Dr. Allen. And finally, how can you help tell somebody else? Just make sure that you're telling someone else. Get the mammogram. I was so pleased in one of the other outreaches that we were able to do that those young men and everyone coming up, oh no, I don't mind wearing pink. Give me a bracelet. I want to wear my pink, or my grandmother or so. Hey, just tell, it doesn't matter who it is. Just make sure that you're telling someone else. And they were not ashamed to say, oh, I'm going to tell my friend, I'm going to share this with my coworkers. So we're so encouraged by that. And just make sure that you continue to spread the word that early detection does save lives. So I'm going to stop here and stop share if we want to go ahead with Dr. Allen now, or however you want to do it.
Yes, ma'am. That was one question I was going to ask you. Have the numbers gotten better as far as, women getting mammograms, and have the deaths decreased? And so I'm so happy that, that is a positive, that we're moving forward in the right direction. And it's because of, people like you, you're getting the word out, you're sending flyers, you're just making sure the community is aware of the services that need to be done and need to perform for women. And so I had one question. Is there an age that women just can stop getting mammograms? And I asked this question because I had a conversation with my aunt, and she told me that her insurance, I think at the age of 75, will stop paying for mammograms. Is there an age that women should just stop getting mammograms?
I'm going to tell you the honest answer that we've had to that. And that is, here's the rule of thumb. If you got it, check it.
Okay.
So if you got it, check it. And if you still have breast tissue, we would like to say, yeah, we would still encourage you to do that. And the rule is, as long as there's an expectation of a healthy lifespan. For instance, if you have someone that's already experienced some other type of sickness, it might not be advantageous for them to be exposed to any type of x-rays or that kind of thing. And so that's really the rule of thumb, why they may put that age group on there. But hey, life expectancy has increased and all of that. So definitely, if you got it, check it. If nothing else, make sure that you're doing your physical exams and that they can check and see that if there's a lump or any difference, and then they can go from there. But that's the rule of thumb. If there's breast tissue, even for some folks that have had treatments or mastectomy, if there's some breast tissue, whatever, they still want to be able to check that. So yes, ma'am.
Okay. And I forgot, that men can get breast cancer too. I forgot all about that piece. I'm glad you do this every year. And so my question to that is, should men just look more for the signs like, discharge or something like that, as opposed to, because, most men are not going to go to the doctor and say, hey, I need a mammogram, so
No,
what should come first?
well, they still need to feel. They can still feel if there's a lump. I mean, they may have the same symptoms can apply because there's breast tissue there.
Okay.
And so then there may be, a decision, okay, well, let's follow up with a mammogram, or if there's a biopsy, all of that kind of thing need. But the symptoms can play out the same with men as well.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Well, thank you so much for that. And I've been posting and commenting on our page. And so we're going to try to get that word out as well, that men need to make sure they're doing their self checks too. And so
Absolutely.
thank you so much for this. This is great information. And so we're going to deviate a little bit and talk to Dr. Allen. We've known Dr. Allen for a couple of years, and I used to see her all the time at a previous church, and never got into any particulars about her diagnosis, but she is a breast cancer survivor. And so we want to talk to her a little bit. Dr. Allen, how are you doing today?
Doing well, Lady Pam. Thank you so much for having me this afternoon.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for joining us. Well, tell our viewers a little bit about yourself. I know you work for UAB, so tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So just like Rochelle, I'm at UAB as well. I'm an assistant professor in the School of Public Health, and I'm in a Department of Environmental Health Sciences. So I'm not a medical doctor either, but I do work with a number of clinicians, and of course, interface and interact with a lot of doctors because I have had breast cancer. But I'm really interested in looking at and exploring and researching environmental exposure. So things that people may be exposed to depending on where they live can have impact on risk factors for some certain kinds of cancers or respiratory illnesses. So I'm in the environmental space, but I'm also interested in how decisions are made that put people in positions where they may live in areas where there's higher risk for a certain kind of chronic illness. So I'm looking at structural things as well as kind of individual behaviors as well. So I'm a researcher at UAB.
We need everybody to come together with all these different aspects to make sure that we all know the information. And so that's great. That's awesome. So tell us, how old were you first were diagnosed with breast cancer, or what happened? What did that look like for you?
Yeah, so that was really interesting. I was 35 years old when I was diagnosed with stage 1 breast cancer. And it was in October. Interestingly enough, during Breast Cancer Awareness Month is when I was diagnosed. There's an interesting statistic that the American Cancer Society actually has on their site that essentially says that in women under the age of 45, breast cancer is more common in Black women. So I was 35 when I was diagnosed. I was not of that age to actually have a mammogram because that's typically recommended at the age of 40. Mm-hmm. But I ended up having a mammogram at 35. And essentially what happened was I'm just bopping around in life. I was having my annual exams with my regular internist, and I was having clinical breast exams done during those appointments. And back to something that Rochelle mentioned around dense breasts and dense breast tissue. I had that. It's called fibrocystic breast. It's breast is lumpy and it can be dense. And a lot of Black women do have that regardless of size of the breast. So my doctor tells me, she says, I don't really feel a lump. You have lumpy breast, but I don't feel anything that would make me think you have something going on. She said, but why don't you just get a screening mammogram just for general purposes? And I'm thinking, okay. I could have completely blown off that appointment, never made it, forgotten about it, all of that. So I had the screening mammogram in in February of 2012. Nothing came out of that screening mammogram at all. I was told, you've got lumpy breast. They're kind of dense. Why don't you just come back in 6 months and we'll just take some more pictures? Well, 6 months later, that's August. August of 2012, I go back and I could have blown off the appointment again and never shown up or not done it or forgotten about it. We all have busy lives. I could have done that. I went back and I had those pictures taken and they said, you know, we don't really know. We see some things that look like some calcifications, just some little dots around your breast. But this doesn't look like breast cancer, but we're just going to keep an eye on it. But we're also going to do an ultrasound of your breast. So come back for that. Okay, fine. I had the ultrasound done right at the top of October and had another mammogram at that time as well. I had a diagnostic mammogram. So they were like, well, you know, there might be something here. We don't know. And that diagnostic mammogram confirmed, not only did I have one lump, I had 3 in the left breast. So going back to the importance of regular doctor's appointments, making sure that you're getting those clinical breast exams done, doing your own being self-aware of your own risk, so important. Because if I had waited until 40 to have the mammogram, I wouldn't have known any of this. And I could have been in a much different position at 40 than I was at 35. So I echo Rochelle's comments earlier about the importance of early detection and in making sure that one is getting those mammograms and doing all of those other self things that one can do, as well as going to your regular doctor's appointments. Yeah. So that was my kind of initial story was that. So I got thrust into the healthcare system really quickly. It was a culture shock for me because I was very used to just going to the doctor once a year, getting your blood work done, getting your height and weight checked, you know, being told your cholesterol is okay, blood pressure is fine, and then just doing it again 12 months later. But being kind of really pushed into the healthcare system the way that I was, with multiple appointments and multiple providers and lots of consultations and a lot of other diagnostic things, a number of biopsies, beginning to think about what a treatment plan would look like. All of these things were happening very quickly for me. And I did not have a history of breast cancer in my family.
That's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah, I know I didn't. And I think it's important to note that most women, you know, who get breast cancer don't have a family history of the disease, you know, but again, back to that close blood relative piece that Rochelle talked about earlier. If you have a first degree relative, a mom, a sister, even your own daughter, but I didn't have any of that. Now, both of my grandmothers on both sides of my family, my father's mother and my mom's mother, had breast cancer, but they were much older women when they had that. My mother's mother was in her 70s when she was diagnosed with breast cancer and literally lived another 20 years after having been diagnosed. She died at 92. So I didn't really have anything to kind of lean on or go by in terms of this looks familiar in my family, because it really wasn't. familiar. So I think it's important to note that about 5 to 10% of breast cancers are hereditary or linked to some kind of genetic mutation, but most of them are not. And I was one of those people who that wasn't my story. I didn't have a genetic mutation in my family lineage for breast cancer.
And you know, you say that, and I've told Rochelle this before. It's kind of like the same situation in my family. Like, I don't know of anybody who had breast cancer until my mom got it in her 70s. Even her mom never had it. I've never heard of my great grandmother having it, but just all of a sudden, my mom get it in her 70s. And so we've had this conversation before. Of course, I was past the age of 40. So of course, by the time I got 40, I was having my regular, but now that my daughter has come along, they've suggested that she gets hers at 35.
Yeah.
But like you said, just out of the blue, it just popped up out of nowhere. And so, like you say, it's so important to have a great doctor, a great clinician who's not going to blow stuff like that off, and making sure that they're doing those exams and that also that we're continuing, you know, we're doing what you did, you know, okay, he feels something, I need to go ahead and go see, make sure I go ahead and get my mammogram. So making sure that we do our part as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I will tell you how the Lord works. This particular internist that I was seeing after I was diagnosed, she left UAB. She went to another institution. I have never seen her again. If she had not been my doctor at that time, it could have been someone else who would have said, yeah, you have lumpy breasts, but never made the recommendation or the referral for me to have the mammogram. And in this whole story, we wouldn't even be talking about this right now. So, you know, I think about that often during this time of the year in October and go, you know, God, you put this person in my path and in my life for a reason. I didn't know why. And again, this was someone I just saw once a year. Didn't have that much of a relationship with them. Saw them literally one time a year. But that one appointment at that particular year, it really kind of, you know, set the trajectory for what was going to happen next.
And Dr. Allen, can I add something? And you said this was not even your GYN doctor.
No.
Wow, that is amazing. Absolutely amazing. So with your regular internist,
just going again every year for just that annual physical, you know, exam. And she said, I think she just said, why don't you just get one? And it was so casual, very kind of laissez-faire, like just get a screening mammogram just to have it as a baseline for when you do turn 40, they'll have something to compare. Having no idea that this was going to be the story.
Totally changed the trajectory altogether. And it's a good thing, like you said, you just being even an advocate for yourself, because while she made the recommendation, you took it upon yourself to go to the next step.
Yeah, exactly.
And make sure and follow up with that that actual scheduling of the mammogram and all of that. And that is so key. Early detection is key. Like you were saying, just because when you did get it and it was diagnosed at such an early stage, that was wonderful. That was wonderful because like you said, had you delayed it could have been totally different. And we really think that's another thing. And I'm going to be quiet on this part and let you finish yours. But like with the entire COVID thing, like you were saying, you know how we've had so many people that put it off or had screenings postponed and that kind of thing. So that is so key. That's amazing.
It is. And I think it's important, the work that you all are doing with O'Neal Cancer Center and the CHA model and really encouraging people to continue to follow up and ask those questions and show up at those appointments. You know, that helping hand is really critical for people who may be afraid of, you know, dealing with the healthcare system, don't want to know answers. I'm someone who, if she told me to do it, I'm going to do it, even though I probably could have done something different. But there are some folks who need a little bit more push. And so what it is that you all are doing with the community health workers across the state and where you are in Mississippi is so important. For those who really may have some hesitancy with dealing with the healthcare system, or don't want to interface with it at all, or don't have a regular doctor. So, I applaud your efforts there.
We do thank you for that, and it's a joy to actually be able to bring this information, like you're saying, and even more so. And before we do get off, we want to let people know that should they have a need for a mammogram, we do have partners with the Alabama Department of Public Health. There are many resources available for people that may be under or uninsured, that we can help them to get the assistance that they need. So I will add my information and contact information to the chat box. Lady Pam, you can feel free to post that again, because we want to make sure that people are aware that there is assistance that's available. And just even with that fear or of what do I do, or what are my next steps? I don't even know how to get to a doctor. We do have people that are employed to help to assist to navigate them through that process.
And I'm glad you said that. That was something else I want you to say is how can people contact you? If they don't, is there funding available if they don't have the money for a mammogram?
Yes, it is. And now that assistance is not directly through our office. We are partners with the Alabama Department of Public Health, and they have a BSEP program, the Alabama Breast and Cervical Early Detection Program. They have assistance, and we do have other partners that can help and assist in that navigation process for them. And they will, there are some financial regulations through the BSEP program, but there are other alternatives available for them should they need help. And again, that they can reach out to me at coeinfo@uab.edu, or they can actually call the line at area code 205-975-0003. And additionally, I don't even mind, there is an actual hotline number to the BSEP program. That number is 1-877-252-3324. Again, it's 1-877-252-3324. And they can take them through any qualification process that they may have with that. And again, feel free to reach out to me directly at the COE email, and we'd be glad to assist them with that.
Okay, yes, ma'am. I've actually put that in there. And just one other thing, Dr. Allen, can you tell us about your treatment plan, how that looks when you first got diagnosis, and then fast forward to now?
Sure. So October 2012, I was diagnosed. And back to, all experiences are different. Some people have chemotherapy or radiation or some type of treatment prior to surgery. Others may have surgery before they have treatment. I had surgery before I had treatment. So I had a full mastectomy of my left breast with reconstructive surgery. Some people wait to do reconstruction. I did it all at one time. So it was a 9-hour surgery where they removed breast tissue from the left breast, and then they took tissue from my tummy and rebuilt the left breast. So I laugh, and people laugh about it. I laugh about this now because I got a tummy tuck in the midst of getting my breast reconstructed. And so about a month or two later, after I recovered from that surgery, I started chemotherapy. And people's experiences with chemotherapy is very different. Everybody doesn't get the same kind of drugs. There are many different types of breast cancers. I think that's important for people to note. So when we talk about Breast Cancer Awareness Month, or just the issue itself, do understand that there are a lot of different, nuances when it comes to this disease. And it's just as individualized as those of us who are on this call now. But I had chemotherapy. It was 4 months of that. So that was early 2013 when I did that. And I will be very honest with you, it was quite hard. I mean, these are medicines that I have never had them before. You don't know how you're going to feel. And everybody feels differently with them as well. I tolerated what I was given fairly well. I did lose my hair, some of those typical things that you hear people talk about that happened to me. I wasn't super sick, but I was very tired and I did lose my hair. And one thing I will say about the hair loss piece, you lose your hair everywhere, not just on your head, all over your body. Wherever there is hair, it leaves you, depending on the medicines that you want, that can happen. And so after I finished my 6 rounds of chemotherapy, I was just continuing to be followed by my oncologist after that. Well, fast forward to 2015 in October, same month, I was re-diagnosed with breast cancer. So I live every day with this disease. So I am a survivor and a thriver, all together. So I am still in the fight and will continue to be, because my breast cancer came back in my lungs. And I'm still in active treatment for that. And so when breast cancer leaves the breast, it is no longer, it's considered to be metastatic, or people will say stage 4. And I'll let people know there is no stage 5, there is no stage 6. It's typically known and titled metastatic breast cancer. And it's still breast cancer, by the way. Even if it moves to another part of the body, it's still treated as breast cancer. I've been in a number of clinical trials, and I'll be honest with you, I encourage people to, if you have an opportunity to do a trial and it's going to be beneficial to you, I would encourage you to do it. It is a lot of work to be in clinical studies, but some of these medicines have been game changers for me. So I'm just going to put a plug in for participation in clinical trials, and particularly with Black people, so important to do. But I mean, as of today, what one would say I am is stable. I still have breast cancer, but it's not out of control because the medications that I'm on, the regular scans that I receive, the regular interface that I have with my medical oncologist and others, it's important to have a good team of people around you who really care about your well-being, and I have that. So I have, for the last 6 years, because in October 2015 is when I was re-diagnosed, here we are in October of 2021, I've been living with breast cancer. And a lot of people don't even know that. There's several colleagues of mine who have no idea that this is what's going on. And it's not something that I walk around with a sign on my head or on my back to say, I am stage 4, I'm living with metastatic breast cancer. You just continue to live. And that's what I've been doing. You know, I should live and not die. That's what I wake up with on a regular basis. You know, God, I know that He can do exceedingly and abundantly more than I've ever asked. So, and He has. And I'm just, every morning, it's that for me. So I say that to myself. I live that out on a regular basis. You know, and breast cancers can reoccur. I didn't wake up and decide in 2015 that I wanted to have breast cancer again, but that's what happened. And about 30% of breast cancers can reoccur. So, and it's sometimes it's just the luck of it's just how it happens. Again, not something that I wanted to happen, but it did happen. But I'm so grateful to be at a cancer center that really people get up every day and they think about this disease in a way to say, how do we keep people thriving? And that's knowing that there are people who are out here who are thinking about that and on my behalf makes me get up every day and say, all right, I can do this. And every day is not a good day. I'm not going to lie. It's not, but most days are okay. And because I know that most days are okay, I continue to get through that day. And I just want to encourage those who may be watching or listening or listen to the replay of this or however this is happening, you know, that again, important to be screened, important to understand one's risk, important to follow up if there is something that might be a concern. And whatever happens after that, a good team of caring people around you, supportive folks, church members, family, of course, your healthcare team, all of those people are so incredibly critical to one survivorship.
Wow. Well, ladies, thank you so much. Dr. Allen, thank you for your transparency, just your words of wisdom, your continued fight in all of this. You are, I mean, you don't even look like you've been through all the stuff that you've been through. You look so radiant and so beautiful, which is
Thank
how it's supposed to be, and just thank you for giving us that push to make sure that we're following up, making sure we're doing our screenings. I like how you said that team of people. There is a lady in Macon, Georgia. That's originally where I was worked and met my husband and had two of our children. So we were there for quite a few years. But to this day, her name is Sharon Stafford. Maybe she's watching. Every year she sends me a text message, and I'm on a chain of probably, I don't know, 13 other women. And it's make sure you're getting your mammograms, make sure you're getting your exams, and that's that team of people's what you're talking about is so critical. Even if just text your sister, text your mom, just text somebody and say, hey, make sure you're getting it. And then if diagnosed with it, making sure you have a great team of people. And I guess if you're not comfortable with the medical team that you have, to maybe look for another team, correct? Yes. Someone who's going to really be your advocate. And I hear that a lot between you two, just advocacy, advocating your health, because if you don't do it, no one else will. So, and thank you, Ms. Rochelle. Of course, as always, thank you for your information as well. Great information about the risk. Of course, the information of everything, staying educated, especially those things like making sure you're healthy, that you're exercising and eating right. We talk about that with all of the cancers. And so this should be nothing new for some of us, but we just need a reminder. Hey, I need to eat right. I need to make sure I'm getting those 150 minutes at least of exercise, and even getting a partner to help you with that. So thank you guys for that. Before we go, I did want to share some announcements with all of our viewers, and then I want to bring y'all back on just to say a couple of other words. So if y'all could just hold tight 1 second, we'll go ahead and get our announcements done. So. Thank you everyone for joining us. Of course, this is Birmingham Bible Church. We had our Winning Wednesday, talked about breast cancer or wellness with Rochelle Wallace and with Dr. Allen. So thank you for joining us. It is 2021, and our theme for this year is Reconstruction 21. We are believing God that He is going to reconstruct everything in your life as well as your health, as we talked about on today. You can watch us on all of our social media outlets. We are on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, and we are on Instagram. There are other ways that you can stay connected with us. We have an app. Go to your app store, download My Sunday, and then locate Birmingham Bible Church. There you will get information, you will get notifications, and we have all of our flyers. And so you're able to recognize and see everything that we have going on at Birmingham Bible Church. And then, of course, to receive text messages, simply text BBCWW to 94253. That's BBCWW to 94253, and you can receive text messages as well. We have a business directory for all of you who are business owners. If you want to be a part of it, if you want to grow your business, go to our website, bhambc.org, scroll to the bottom. You will click on business directory, and then you can key in your information. This is a free resource, and you are not only just a part of our website, but you're also a part of a 54,000 plus Christian database. And so this gives you a lot of exposure. So you want to make sure you are taking part of that on today. And then every Tuesday at 11 a.m., we have a study in the scriptures with Pastor Mason. We are studying through the book of Philippians. We are having a great time walking through that book. So please join us on all of our social media outlets every Tuesday at 11 a.m. And then you just heard from Dr. Allen and Miss Rochelle Wallace talking about breast cancer wellness. Last week, we had domestic violence. We had some great speakers on that. We had a domestic violence survivor. And of course, we had Miss Alexandra Means. Please go back and watch that powerful testimony, powerful information that went forth. On next week, we're going to have Deacons Wright. It's also Financial Planning Month. And so he's going to talk to us about financial literacy and what all that means. So it's going to be next Wednesday, of course, at 12 noon. And then our sermon series for this month of October is family issues. All of us are part of a family, so all of us have issues. So of course, please make sure you're watching us every Sunday at 11 a.m. as Pastor Mason talks about that. It's going to be a great one again this Sunday. Last week, he talked about blended families. And so you want to go back and watch that. That was some great, great and powerful information for those of you who are involved in blended families. And then our prayer room is every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 6 a.m. That number is 727-731-0433. That's 727-731-0433 every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 6 a.m. Of course, we have all of our virtual hangouts that we have going on. Of course, you see them on the screen. If you have any questions or need some further information, please contact us at ladypam@tcowi.org. We'll resume our 30 days of Taming the Tongue in November. We're taking a break. So we're going to resume that the first Saturday in November. So we'll let you know once we get that kicked up and get that started. And then we are having a virtual women's empowerment this Saturday. Really excited about all of our topics, all of our speakers. Our theme is Built by God. You were built for this. And so we have some women that's going to tell us how we were built to be physically fit, to have great health, to be super moms, to handle our business, and to have a relationship with God. If you want to have a t-shirt, Built by God t-shirt, Nikila can do any color t-shirt. She can do any color writing. Please contact her. Her number is 205-915-7989. And then you can also direct messenger her on Facebook at Nikila Huggins. And then the very last Saturday this month, we are having our World Mental Health Conference. We have 3 great speakers, 3 clinical psychologists who are going to talk to us about how we can have great mental health. And so we have someone who's going to talk about overcoming anxiety, someone who's going to talk about I'm suffering from depression. What can I do about it? And then someone who's going to help us just love somebody who has a mental disorder. So that's going to be free. It's going to be virtual, 10 a.m. October the 30th. Please make sure you're watching us on all of our social media outlets. And then for all of our kiddos, for those who are even part of Birmingham Bible Church, we're having a drive-by trunk or treat for you guys. We did it last year. It came off with just flying colors. It was so exciting. We were in our costumes. So listen, kids, make sure you're in your costumes, dress up in your favorite one, social distance, and then you'll be able to get candy out of the candy mobile and then go in the house and eat all of it. Okay, and then also we have, I believe this month or next month is scholarship month. And so we have Shada Spikes. She is going to teach us how we can get free money for college. So this is for parents, parents if you're going back to school, teenagers, those in middle school, younger kids. Listen, it's going to be a private Zoom, but she knows how to do it. She went to school debt-free. She also had money saved over for her down payment on her first home. So listen, she knows what it takes. So that's going to be Saturday, November the 6th at 12 noon Central Standard Time. This is going to be private. We're not showing this on all of our pages. So make sure you contact me, Lady Pam at tcowi.org. And then we're having a virtual business expo in the month of November. I believe the Saturday after Thanksgiving is considered Small Business Saturday. So we want to showcase all of our business owners. Email me. We're going to do a special recording so that we can show it and make sure you get all the business that you, so y'all can be millionaires in the next couple of months. So make sure you email me at ladypam@tcowi.org. And then we have several ways, of course, you can give to the ministry. Thank you for how y'all have given thus far. Of course, you can give through Givelify. Go to your app, download Givelify, locate Birmingham Bible Church. You can give that way. Of course, you can mail your tithes in at P.O. Box 360321, Birmingham, Alabama 35236. Or you can give via text to give, which is how I give, 205-289-1938. Put in the $, the amount you want to give, fill out a simple registration form, and from there, you can send in your monies that way, your donations that way. Also, we can give via Cash App, which is $BHAM-BC, and also you can give through PayPal, which is bhambc.org. And as you continue to give, thank you for all of your gifts. We have 11 sponsored children in Haiti through Compassion International. It is because of your gifts that you are able to provide, and we're able to provide food, medical supplies, emotional needs, Christian counseling, and everything to make sure that they are growing physically. So thank you for that. And thank you for your continued gifts toward our land, our future. Thank you, because we are continuously doing things debt-free. We are continuously saving, investing those money so that we can build land here in the Birmingham Bible Church area. Thank you so much for how each and every one of y'all reach somebody. You are helping us to get the word out. You're helping us to get this information out that we even had on today. So thank you so much for that. Of course, as always, have an awesome week. We have a couple of announcements in November that's coming up. We are excited because next month marks 7 years of ministry. We have been able to reach lives, not only just in Birmingham, but across this world. And so our theme always every year is, up until this point, the Lord has helped us, and he truly has. He has helped us and has sustained us. And so we are celebrating all month long. Of course, we have all the speakers that you see there. Of course, one special note, our drive-up service will not be the first Sunday in November. It's going to be the second Sunday in November. So we have Pastor Cook of CBF Ministries. He's going to be bringing forth a powerful and prophetic word. We have a psalmist, a guest psalmist, Deidre Gaddis. She is going to be present. And so we're going to have a good time on that day. We are also giving out free turkeys, first come, first serve. So we're just going to have a great celebratory time. So make sure you invite your family and your friends for that drive-up service, that second Sunday in November. Everything else is going to be virtual. So thank you so much for that. And thank you for your patience as I went through those announcements. Well, is there anything else that ladies, you would like to add before we dismiss?
Well, I just like to say thank you. As always, it's always a pleasure to share with you all and just to be a part and hear all the awesome things that you and the ministry is doing. We want to make sure that we're taking care of these bodies, spirit, soul, and body, and that we'll be sanctified wholly according to the word of God, and also just what we know in the natural as well. So I thank you for this opportunity, and just want to encourage everyone to make sure that they are sharing, just sharing the message of early detection, the importance of early detection, and early detection saves lives. So make sure you're continuing to be an advocate for yourself, and taking heed to the educational and awareness and all of the information that you're getting this month and all months, really, to be an advocate for yourself. And remember that early detection really does save lives.
Amen. And thank you so much, Dr. Allen. Someone just commented on Facebook there. Thank you. This was great information and just a powerful testimony. So is there anything else that you would like to add?
No, I just appreciate the opportunity. I'm so excited about Winning Wednesdays for you all's church. It's been a pleasure to talk with listeners this afternoon, and just echoing what Rochelle said, know your body, make sure that you're taking care of it, and allow the Lord to do the rest.
Amen. Amen. Well, thank you so much, guys, for this. And you all have an awesome week. Of course, please, viewers, early detection is the key. So make sure you are doing your part. Make sure you're doing your part. You're being an advocate, not only for yourself, but for your family and for your friends. So thank you so much, ladies. Everybody, make sure you stay safe, you stay sane, and you stay sanitized. Have an awesome week. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.